Hey guys, how's it going? It's been a while since I've uploaded one of these recordings to YouTube, but I figured it's time. We're gonna talk about just what happened earlier this year. I haven't been really been wanting to make a YouTube video and kind of, I guess, telling you everything that happened and talking about some things that people don't even know. And there's been a lot of news stories and a lot of articles that have covered swattings, the one that happened to myself, and they've kind of made it crazier than it actually was, or maybe missed some details, and we'll cover that. One of the reasons that I decided to make this video today is I'm not sure if some of you know, some of you do. Was actually just streaming earlier today on Twitch on my channel, and one of my viewers had said, "Hey Koopa, have you heard about the guy who faked a swatting at the end of his 24-hour live stream on Twitch?" And I kind of just sat there for a moment, just kind of, it took me a moment to process that, just to, like now, like I just couldn't believe it. And then it took me another moment to just kind of just figure out the emotion that I was feeling, because I don't really feel this feeling very often. It's anger, it's frustration, and I'm just not the type of person to really have that feeling very often. I feel like I handle things quite well most of the time, and it just didn't really sit well with me. Um, for someone to, even if it was just kind of it wasn't really a serious prank, or it wasn't really just it's something like that is too serious to, you know, do as like, like a fake reenactment of it, or to fake a swatting. That just seems absolutely ridiculous. We'll kind of just go back in time with what happened with our situation in Minnesota. There was a police call to my house, or to the police, and they pretended to be me. And they had called and they had said, in a very panicky voice, saying that someone at my address had been shot, and now they were coming to find me. And as the call progressed, they had said that they were pointing a gun at me. Someone's pointing a gun at me, and then on the call they heard a gunshot, and that was it. That was the end of the call. And so basically everyone within 20-mile radius, or anyone that was near St. Cloud, Minnesota, basically was called on scene, and it was it was a lot of police officers. Let's just put it that way, knocking and banging on our door at about 1 in the morning when I was still live streaming. I had been sitting there on our chair, or on my chair, playing RuneScape and Clash of Clans at the same time, and I heard someone running around upstairs. And at 1 in the morning at my family's house, no one's awake. I am the only one awake past like 9. Everyone else goes to bed really early. And so that was kind of odd. I was like, oh, there's someone running around upstairs. And then I heard someone like run down the steps. It's like, what the hell's going on? And it's my mom. She's panicking. She says, Josh, there's police outside. Do you know what's going on? And I haven't heard her just have the sound of distress in her voice. Just, I've never heard her like that before, not in a very long time, at least. Immediately, I knew what was going on. I just knew it. I took like a second just to kind of sit here and just be like, I can't believe this. And I just told my stream that the cops here, and I left. And I went upstairs. My stepdad and my mother were at the door. We were trying to unlock our front door so the police wouldn't knock it down. We could barely even unlock the door, just because there was a transparent glass by the door, and they were pointing their guns through the windows, telling us to keep our hands up. We're just trying to get the door open to let them in. And I mean, as soon as they were through the door and in their entryway, before you could count down from 5, I mean, myself, my stepdad, and my mom, we're all face down on the ground, guns pointed at our backs, and my mom's just frantically saying over and over again, "Why is this happening? There's children in the house." And at that point, when we're all laying there, that's when my little brother overheard like what was going on. He was woken up. He opened up his door. He came down the steps, and the police had pointed their guns at him. The police at this point think that somebody is in the house with a gun and has shot 2 people, and they don't know who it is. Is it a 10-year-old little boy? Is it a 28-year-old? They don't know. They're just trying to diffuse the situation, and they're walking into what they think is an active shooter situation, which is very serious. And for them, like as a police officer, that's like one of the worst scenarios possible. Not a lot of police officers get the chance to go to something like that. And I mean, even when they were putting us down on the ground, their fingers were shaking. They were extremely nervous. When I realized they were, that's what had happened when I'm laying on the concrete, that they were pointing their guns like at my little brother. He's on the steps. And it's just, at that point, it's just like, okay, I'm streaming on Twitch TV. This is probably a prank. Nothing's going on. There's no weapons here. No one's dead. No one's been shot. This is probably a hoax. And at that point, everything kind of changed. Like the tempo slowed down. Like you could tell that they were really just they were pissed off. They're just like, whoa. No, like I agree wholeheartedly. This is fucked up. Like this is messed up. This is wrong. I agree. They checked out the house. I brought them downstairs. I showed them my streaming setup, my green screen on my desk, and my bed right behind it. It's like, this is what I was doing, man. I was just playing video games. Just playing some RuneScape. And they thought I had like a porn studio or something. So, no, just video games. And that was it. They felt extremely bad. They felt terrible that they put our family through that. But it's not their fault. That's what they were trained to do. That's what they were supposed to do if that situation was happening, right? And this is something that not many people know, and never really made it to any stories, but whoever did it actually tried swatting me again, a second time. An hour later, I was streaming. I got back on the streaming at that point, and just to talk with my audience, just to kind of cool down, I guess you could say. Although I'm pretty sure it didn't cool down until like 3 days after that. And it was the police calling my cell phone, asking if I was okay. And they had said that someone tried calling in again from the same number, saying that I was suicidal because I felt so bad of what happened to my little brothers. And they basically said that I was going to kill myself. And then the police officers then needed to talk to my parents, so they knew that wasn't true. And so I had to go back upstairs, wake up, they weren't asleep at that point, just go into the living room and give them the phone. And yeah, so then it was fine, like it didn't work, but so they actually tried swatting me 2 times in one night within an hour. So not many people know that. And I guess one of the reasons why I'm even taking time out of my night to explain this is, some people were genuinely curious as far as what happened that night, but to just kind of go back to how bad these situations can be. And not only how bad they have been from previous experiences, but how bad it could have been. If it wasn't for how professional the police officers were, even though they're nervous as shit. I mean, they're putting me down on the ground. Their hands are super nervous. I mean, if you've ever held like a gun that's loaded, that's not on safety, like doesn't take much weight to pull the trigger and for a live round to be fired. It's not much at all. And it's just with all this type of stuff happening, it's just like, when is it going to happen to the point, or when's it going to happen where someone accidentally gets shot? It could be on stream. What if someone gets swatted on a stream and someone's dog's there and goes up to the police and you see a little dog gets shot on stream? It's like, it's it's getting to that point where it's like, if it keep, well, it will get to that point if it keeps getting worse. You know, it's whoever these people are that keep doing this kind of stuff. You know, all of a sudden a swatting's not what it's just like. Oh, another swatting. It's almost not a big deal, even though it is. But to them, they want to one up them. They want to make it even more dramatic. It's messed up. Kind of a tangent, but let's go back to Trick2g. He was the one that was, I think it's still up for debate. He had completed a 24-hour stream, and at the end of his stream, I guess they faked a swatting incident. I don't know if it was done by his friends or if it was done by him. There's a lot of the stuff up in the air right now. The pending ban on him for 4 months or permanently. Who knows where the decision on that will lie? And people are coming to me and they're saying, "Do you think Trick2g deserve to be banned?" And I don't, and that's not my decision to make. I would want no part in that. You know, I looked at his following, how big his Twitch channel is, and his Twitter following, and you know, he's got a really big community, really big, way bigger than mine, just like huge. He's really, really successful at what he does, and to have that many people following you, to have that size of a channel, especially as like a live broadcaster, that really says something about you as a person. You know, that's really hard to do, and I respect the amount of work that he has put into his channel to get to that point. It's very, very, very tough, very hard for that to all happen. It's a lot of things working for you, and it's tough. It's hard, and so I respect that. But in this day and age, or in this business, it just takes one mistake for it to all just gone. And I guess the only thing I can really relate it to is, you know, coincidentally with my swatting, there was someone called Famed God. He was arrested the day after my swatting, and earlier this year, and coincidentally arrested day after. I don't know if he was the one responsible for it. I have no idea. I know, the only thing I know is that local police officer, or the police, had turned the investigation over to the FBI. And no one told me anything. Some people had said, "Oh, how do you feel that the guy who swatted you is now in prison?" It's not really anything that really ties them together officially. Just kind of that he was in the same. I was in that article. No one's told me anything. I have no idea if they're tied together. I believe that, you know, whoever that person is or whatever organization was responsible for it, they'll get what's coming to them. That's karma's a bitch, right? So it's whatever. I'm not gonna stress about it. I'm not the kind of person to think about something negative over and over and over again and let it bother me or get to me or ruin my day. And so having kind of the direction I was going with mentioning that is, you know, the police had caught him for a lot of online harassment charges, a lot of different things, and they wanted to make an example of him. He's doing time, a very serious penalty for those types of those types of things that you're doing on the internet to other people. Even though you're not like physically harming them, but you're still putting them in a position where they could have been. You know, if, like, let's say he was responsible for swatting, the people that those police officers could have totally accidentally, it's not like it would be on purpose, but could have shot them. It's an act of terrorism, and someone like the Fame God needs to be punished. An example needs to be made, and that's to deter other people from doing such a thing. I think that deterrence is a very important thing to remember with this swatting stuff. And the goal is to, you know, how do we prevent it from happening ever again? That's not the most realistic thing to imagine. The world's not perfect. It's far from that. But how do we reduce those numbers? You know, how can we prevent most of them from happening? And do you make an example? You catch people doing it and you make an example of them. And so for Trick2g getting essentially pranking something that's very serious, even if it's quite apparent that he's smiling or it's a joke, it's just there's a line and it was crossed. And I stand behind Twitch's decision if they decide to shut his channel down, whether it's permanent or temporary. You know, if it is, let's say, a 4-month ban, that's enough time for him to never do something like that again. And he's not gonna have to think twice about something that's gonna happen on his channel for him to basically put it in jeopardy to where he's going to lose it. You know, someone like him, as well as a lot of other broadcasters, have made one mistake, and their channel is permanently closed because of it. Every circumstance is very different, and there's lots of different things that are taken into account. I'm well aware of that. You know, I know that these things are never the same. I know that every swatting is a little bit different, but at the end of the day, like, it's a lot of these things are in a sense they're very, very similar too at the same time. So I mean, I guess if I had to say one thing to Trick2g, I'd say, you know, you have an awesome channel and you've done a great job with growing everything, but you know, this was that one mistake. And unfortunately, sometimes you don't get a second chance. But if you do, just remember this, which I know he will. You know, just don't take the things that you have and take it for granted. A business like this on Twitch or on the internet, for example, is very fragile. But something even like going beyond the scope of that is that, you know, safety is the number one concern. And by making this video and talking more about it, am I encouraging or just making more awareness of what swatting is and maybe giving someone the idea of them to do it? I don't know. I have no idea. But I just feel like that sometimes these kinds of things do need to be talked about, and people need to be reminded of how serious it is. And to also just point out that people do get caught for this kind of stuff. Whether it's Fame God getting arrested and serving time for whatever he did, or someone even merely doing a prank about a fake hoax about it and getting his business essentially shut down. It's a very serious thing. And that kind of stuff can't happen on the internet. It's not right. Is it going to happen? Yes. I'm very realistic with that kind of stuff. I'm not naive. I don't know. I guess that's like all I really wanted to talk about. I'm not going to be editing this video and sewing together a whole bunch of clips to make it super crazy or anything. I do live streaming more than this recording stuff on YouTube, so this is really awkward for me right now to not be doing this in front of a live audience, but that's all I got. We'll see where this thing goes. Probably not going to go anywhere. But I really hope that in the future that this kind of thing goes away, and that I just really hope that, you know, it doesn't keep getting worse and worse and worse to where someone does get seriously injured, especially in front of a live audience. It'd be very traumatic for not only the person experiencing that, the police officers that are involved, and the viewers. Think of some young audience, some young viewers from just sitting there watching the man playing Minecraft, and all of a sudden just pounding through the door, and the next thing you know, he's shot, bleeding, IRL, and it's like you don't even know what to think. Does this happen? You know, it's the worst case scenario, and Twitch doesn't want to see that. You don't want to see that. No one wants to see that. All right, well, I'm gonna press stop recording. If you wanna come to my Twitch channel, you're more than welcome to. Sometime we'll be streaming all week. But I hope you guys have a good evening, and yeah, super awkward ending, but I don't know. I don't do this very often. So, but yeah. Have a good day. Good night, good afternoon. I'm pressing stop recording now. Go find another YouTube video to watch. Goodbye.